What's a mook?
A mook. What's a mook?
I don't know.
What's a mook?
Because you watched it recently.
Sure.
But that's Monster Squad.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That one's worth digging into. That's a great movie. You know what? As I was watching that, I was like, I'm sure those guys who made Stranger Things must have been very aware of Monster Squad.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because like with the radios they're using and stuff.
Yeah.
And again, that seemed to be like kind of a bit of a common thing that was going on with movies in the 80s, like that depict kids. I mean, you had E.T., you had the Goonies, like this whole thing of adolescent kids riding around on their bicycles, communicating with walkie-talkies and going on these adventures and encountering supernatural events and circumstances. And like it happened so many times in the 80s movies. You had the Explorers.
That's right.
Which
did
that kind of thing.
The 80s was the big explosion in marketing where they, and it probably still goes back to Star Wars. It was because of Star Wars that they realized, wow, like our market really should be towards teenagers and kids. Mm-hmm. So that's why in the 80s we got a whole ton of these teen movies. But then we also got a whole ton of these kid movies. And I think they were like, well, rather than making a Star Wars thing, let's literally make a movie about kids for kids. And yeah, Spielberg was really famous for whether he was directing them or just producing these movies that were very kid-based. It's no surprise that I loved Monster Squad because the guys who wrote it basically said that their idea of what they were trying to make was the Little Rascals and the Universal Monsters. And they were like, that's what this is. It's what if the Little Rascals encountered the Universal Monsters? So I'm like, oh, two things I love put together. These little rascals are brought into an 80s sensibility.
Yeah, which is actually much more appealing for me anyway, I think. Like more,
and I find it a much better movie than the Goonies, personally. Maybe that's because I like monsters more than pirates. But
I don't know if I would say that it's better. I'd have to think about that.
There's just a lot of parts in the Goonies that I just find really annoying, especially in like the later half. There's just a lot of parts where it's just kids yelling over each other and... But the thing that I love about Monster Squad is it's almost not even a kid's movie. It's almost an adult movie. Like it could almost have been a real horror movie, except for the fact that I think they knew that adults at that time weren't really going to take seriously a movie with the classic monsters. So they were smart to make it for kids. But when you look at like everything in like the family dynamics, especially any scenes that it's just with the adults, like the dad and all the side stories of the dad being a cop, if you were to watch those sequences out of context, you would think you're actually watching a cop movie.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. But then you also have like some very kid movie elements, like the whole thing with Frankenstein kind of being befriended by the daughter.
That's definitely that's the sentimental part for sure in the movie. But even then, I still think it's probably done better than, I think I might take Frankenstein over Sloth, you know?
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It
is, very similar dynamic for sure.
Like, to me, Goonies feels like a real, like, it's a kid's movie, while I feel like Monster Squad they were consciously like, parents are going to take their kids to this, but let's also give something for the parents to also enjoy. Like, there's heavy stuff with, like, the main boy and his, like, parents who they're not divorced, but they're clearly going through some marital problems. And, by the way, the mom from Monster Squad is also the mom from Goonies. That's like, the one legitimate connection.
Oh, okay,
She's also the wife of Robert Zemeckis, the filmmaker.
Oh, interesting.
So she pops up in a lot of things, I find.
Wait, so Robert Zemeckis directed Goonies?
No, he didn't do either of those movies. No, Richard Donner did the Goonies.
Yeah.
And then Fred Decker. I mean, I would say Monster Squad is my favorite movie of his. Probably Shane Black, the writer, is more well known than Fred Decker. One thing I love about Monster Squad also, though, is like the actual design of the monsters, like the Stan Winston.
Yeah. I thought the werewolf in that was quite good. I don't know about his face, because when I look at his face, I'm kind of like, that's a bit of a weird face. But I love like when you see the wide shots of him, kind of with this like large upper body.
As a kid, he was the most terrifying to me. Was the Wolfman. He does kind of suffer from like the early Batman things where, you know, he can't move his neck.
Yeah.
You know, it's right. All there.
But in a lot of ways, that kind of contributes to his movement being certain look, especially because you're often sort of seeing him not quite as a silhouette, but almost as kind of this wide angle, backlit sort of perspective you're getting on him.
And even though he's not in the movie very much, the creature from the Black Lagoon is also, I think, a very impressive
That was
design.
a great suit.
Yeah.
I was really, and I think it's like quite similar to the original.
In some way, it's a
too.
little bit like, in some ways, it's almost, maybe it's not as iconic as the original Gillman, but it's creepier. Like, it's got teeth. Like, it's got much more of a fish face, while the original Gillman's kind of got these, like, I don't know how else to describe it, but like kind of like these like cock-sucking lips. Okay. It's just got this like it's a little bit goofy. Like, I think I love the Gillman. The one in the new movie, I'm like, that thing could be in a movie today and it would hold up. Like, it almost has like the face of a piranha. I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, that's flawless. And apparently, while they were having problems working on the Predator design, and it was from things that they worked out on the creature that they then incorporated into Predator that like same year or so, because they were like, oh, we solved the Predator problem with the creature design,
Yeah,
and then
is
so
that right?
they evolved that into
So
Predator.
Stan Winston did the Predator stuff then too, hey?
Yeah.
Wow, he's got a good resume. Kind of going back to the Goonies, one of the things the Goonies does really well, which I think it does better than what Monster Squad does, is it leads me gradually into that kind of fantasy. And what I mean by that is both movies are sort of established as, you know, they're established in the real world, and Monster Squad kind of just starts throwing these monsters and these supernatural elements at you. Whereas the Goonies, it's like you're kind of, you know, presented with this treasure map and all these interesting artifacts up in their attic. And then they go and they're trying to solve this mystery. And there's these crazy...
The Fratellis.
Yeah, the Fratellis there, these weirdo criminals. But it's not until you finally get through all these weird obstacles and stuff that you finally are revealed, oh, holy shit, this treasure and this pirate ship and all of it is actually real, you know? And that's the thing that I really love about the Goonies is it takes you on that journey that you so often go on when you're a kid. You're searching for something, or you're on a bit of a quest to find something interesting, and then there's actually a payoff, right? And that's the thing, is like it gradually leads up to that payoff, I think, in the Goonies, and it's very satisfying when you get there.
I mean, if anything, Monster Squad has higher stakes, right? Goonies is trying to like save its community, and then they find like the jewels, while Monster Squad's more like, we need to like protect this amulet, otherwise evil will reign over the world forever. I guess the thing is, I just find that Goonies is a little bit more plausible in real life, and yet the way it's delivered is almost a little bit less realistic than Monster Squad, even though Monster Squad is dealing with more supernatural elements that are unrealistic. They play it out in a more serious way, while the Goonies, it feels very much like a movie, if that makes sense.
I don't know if I would really necessarily agree with that, but I don't know.
Little things, just like, you know, like the water slide moments, and just like they're fun moments, but they're moments that you're kind of like, yeah, this is a kid's movie. While Monster Squad, it's like you have to kick Wolfman in the balls just to save your own life. And I mean, again, like, yeah, there's certainly things you can say about Monster Squad that are not realistic and stuff like that. But to me, it just always seemed more badass. Like, it could have almost had a different rating.
Meeting adjourned.
Than the Goonies. And maybe that's just what I like about it, is it just seemed a little bit more like badass, and almost like leaning almost towards an almost like teenage audience, while Goonies is clearly a kid's movie and for kids.
Yeah, maybe it's because like I watched it as a kid, and you know, the movie kind of takes you on that adventure. It's like you can just keep reliving that as you watch it again and again, kind of keep reliving the experience you had watching it when you were a kid, versus just watching Monster Squad for the first time, you know, the other day as a 34-year-old man. You know, maybe that's why I feel differently about it. But yeah, I don't know. Fuck you, Goonies is better.
Goonies never say die.
No, but I mean, like, I love both of them. I think they're both like super solid.
I will give you
movies
this.
and very
I think
enjoyable.
I will give you this. I think Goonies has the better fat kid. Like
Oh,
I'll take Chunk over Fat Kid. I will give you that.
Yeah.
But why didn't they hire Chunk to be in Fat? Why wasn't Chunk hired to be in Monster Squad? Like he didn't do anything else. But he could have been the fat kid of the 80s. They were like,
we can't just reuse him. But I do feel like Goonies has more genuine laughs as well for me. I don't know. How do you feel about Monster Squad as being for its comedy and humor and stuff?
I find it, as an adult, I find it funnier because it's more serious, the jokes hit harder. While the only stuff in Goonies that I still holds up comedic-wise is when Chunk is being tortured by the Fratellis.
Oh, really? That's
like a great comedic moment. But other than that, it's just, the older I get, the more I kind of hate the Goonies in general as a movie. Yeah, it's a lot of just the obnoxiousness of, and again, it comes more towards the later half of the movie where there's just way more, it's like I'm watching a Robert Altman movie, but with fucking kids, where the dialogue's starting to overlap each other, and it's just a bunch of kids screaming. Especially by the end of the movie, it's literally just kids just like, no, and you're just like, shut the fuck up. I just want to slap them, or I want to see Sloth just punch them into oblivion.
I still really love Corey Feldman's character in that, though. I mean, he just cracks me up every time. It's like he's the snarky but like smooth talking.
He's the wise ass. He's the wise ass in the group. Yeah,
and I love it. He's like always combing his hair, and he's just like, I don't know. He's witty and he's.
Oh my God! What? That's my mom's most favorite piece.
You wouldn't be here if it wasn't.
Shut up, Mel.
Yeah, he just cracks me up, man.
Yeah.
But I also like that there's the dynamic with like the older brother too, the Josh Brolin character. And you kind of get a little bit of that in Monster Squad because there's like the older kid who's like the bike. That was quite funny. I love the part where he goes and confronts the bully and makes him like eat the chocolate bar.
Yeah. Like, okay, so just going back to like the tough kid in Monster Squad, like he's literally like staking teenage girls to death who have recently become vampires.
I don't believe this.
Like, I can't picture Josh Brolin pulling out a gun and blasting the Fratellis away.
So that's what you mean in terms of it being more adult.
There's so many sequences, just like again, when he shoots the werewolf, and the werewolf's just like, thank you, and he dies. Like, there's just a lot of moments in the movie that are very real. Where
that was the thing that I thought was really funny, is how that guy's like.
He's the uncle from Napoleon Dynamite, by the way. The werewolf.
That's hilarious. Well, like the fact that he keeps on going into the police station and he's like, arrest me,
lock me up. That's what I mean. Is like there's like when it's not when there's no kids in the scenes, you're like, I'm watching an adult movie almost. Like maybe like a cheesy adult movie, but this is like more adult than a lot of adult movies of that time, I thought. It's almost like I feel the actors in the movie weren't told that they were in a kids movie as much as they were just sort of like, this is the scenario, and like everybody kind of plays it straight. And that's why I think it's sort of so effective. But I agree, there's some sort of goofy stuff with the Frankenstein. That's like the part where you actually are almost like, now I almost feel like I'm watching a big budget Disney monster movie.
Now can I be in the monster club?
You know, I guess there had to be the one good monster. Also, it makes sense when you get really familiar with the old Frankenstein lore. Frankenstein always was this sort of sympathetic. He was a sympathetic, he was a sympathetic character. Even in the original Frankenstein movie, there's a famous scene where he's with a little girl, and so I think they were partly playing in on that. Like if there's one character that almost could go good, it's Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Even in the book, it's always been kind of stated that like Victor Frankenstein is really the villain, and the monster is the victim.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Oh my God! What? That's my mom's most favorite piece. What? Oh my God! Wolfman's got nards.